My flight from the smoky, dirty city of La Paz into the small jungle town of Roranabaki was delayed, so I didn't arrive until 3 or 4 in the afternoon. When I did, it was lovely to breathe thick, oxygen-rich jungle air again. I'd booked a survival tour with a personal guide, an Indian who would take me into the jungle for several days, carrying only a blanket, a machete, and a mosquito net. We were to look for food to survive during the course of our trip. On the day of the tour, a Frenchman from the hostel gave me a pair of trousers he said he had worn in the jungle himself. They looked tatty, but I thought they would be good because I didn't want to ruin my own. My Indian guide, Valdemar, is also sick. He drank too much last night. So did I. I feel a little apprehensive, but I am sure this will be a wonderful experience that I hope never to forget. I keep fluctuating between serene calm and anxiety. Why am I here? This is a dream come true, but I waste my time worrying about things. Is this what Colin Wilson called St. Neot's margin? Without strife, life is empty. Something needs to happen to me here to help me go on with my life. I fear I may be stagnating, and I will never become what I intend to be. I had failed to scale a mountain in the Andes due to altitude sickness. I must now demonstrate my strength in the jungle if I'm to restore my honor. The long boat ride into the jungle is pleasant and cool. It's been an excellent opportunity for reflection. I'm glad there is no one but me on the tour. My Indian has slept most of the way. He says he will find natural medicine when we are in the jungle. First day in the jungle was easy. The 3 hours on the boat were followed by a cooked lunch at the camp. Then Valdemar and I proceeded into the bush for 3 hours or so, drinking from vines called cat's claws vines, which we cut to drink the water from. We also began collecting bits of wood so that Valdemar could make a bow and arrow. We got to our camp around 6 in the evening. It was too late to catch any food, so Valdemar just continued work on his bow. Right now I'm in the Amazon rainforest in Bolivia, and we're gonna try and get something to eat because we don't have any food. So we're making, my guide Valdemar has made a bow, and this we're going to string up, and he's now making some arrows so we can go and hunt something to eat for later on. The bow is made from the outside of a very malleable wood. The inside of it, of the log we found, was rotten. Carved away all the rotten wood, leaving only the hard exterior. It's still very malleable. And Valdemar's then carved it so it's thickest in the middle, thinnest at the top with these grooves. Day 2, 14th July. We woke early with no breakfast to eat, and set off for the river camp. On the way, Valdemar continued working on his bow for fishing. We were caught in a rainstorm, during which we saw squirrel monkeys and a capuchin, equally put out by the downpour. We also saw jaguar and tapir footprints. We left the game trail, then cut our way down to the river, where we fished with no success. Gave up and re-entered the jungle to cut bamboo trunks and stalks to use for many things. Made our way back to the river, where we made camp on a beach. There were many footprints of ocelots and capybara all around. Valdemar cooked a lunch made from yucca roots roasted on the fire. We felt much better after that food, so we decided to try fishing in another spot upriver. I failed again, but Valdemar caught an enormous catfish. Very large catfish. Apparently they like fruit, so we're going to eat that tonight with a special type of... Valdemar, can you explain how you're going to cook this tonight?
I am to cook in the bamboo. Inside bamboo, inside garlic tree, it's very good for to eat. for tonight.
This is the bark of the garlic tree he's talking about. It's a tree, its bark smells exactly like garlic. There was so much meat that we had some left over for breakfast. So the head's been cooked on the fire, and these bamboo sticks are filled with catfish and water, and they've been boiling for an hour, simmering for an hour, to create these. That night my camera ran out of batteries. I admired passing macaws until the sun set, and I could no longer endure the plagues of mosquitoes and other biting insects, so I retreated to my mosquito net. Valdemar told me he heard the call of a jaguar not far away, but it was hard for me to distinguish all the different animal noises. It was an exciting night, sleeping exposed in the jungle, right there on the sand, with nothing but palm leaves above me. I had reflected earlier, while it was still light, that the dead palm fronds fallen down and turned white made the jungle look like a butcher's shop, with huge spines and ribs hanging from the ceiling, while the rubbery leaves turned brown and leathery made the jungle seem like a tannery. Day 3. We ate the rest of the fish for breakfast, tried to start a fire but failed. Wood was too wet. Valdemar says I must do it before I leave. As we left the beach, we saw turtle tracks, fresh. I followed the tracks and found the turtle's hole. There were eggs inside. "Want to eat is good," said Valdemar. I declined, though hunger would give me cause to regret it later. Valdemar told me that all the Israeli soldiers he takes on these tours always eat the eggs. Turtles shouldn't have their eggs eaten by Israelis. Valdemar found some stringy tree bark with which to string the bow. It broke on the first attempt, but the second one held firm. I'm covered in bites from little beasties last night that somehow got under my net. Also ripped a hole in the carriage of my hippie trousers the Frenchman gave me. I curse that Frenchman, for my balls are dangerously exposed to bugs now. I was never meant to wear such clothing. We continued trekking through the jungle, and then encountered a herd of peccary, the wild pigs of the Amazon jungle. There were so many of them, black with pink snouts and thick bristles. We heard them easily because of their crunching at nutshells. As we got closer, we heard their grunts and snuffles and the strange whining of a piglet. Soon they sniffed us out and then scarpered. I wish we'd killed one. We trekked on to a small, swampy lake, where Valdemar almost immediately caught a fish with his bow and arrow. We carried the fish to a place where we could make camp. Somehow it remained alive even after I had struck it several times with my machete, and even after Valdemar had gutted it, the gills and the underside still quivered with life. What is the energy of life, and where does it go? Hopefully into my belly. We ate the fish at around 4 p.m, a late lunch, and there may be no dinner. Its flesh was as yellow as a banana. It was delicious. We baked it in a palm leaf, with bits of bark that taste like garlic. Valdemar gave me a needle and thread he had brought with him so that I could sew up the trousers and protect my balls. We are camped right by a wasp's nest, and Valdemar has already been stung. I'm loving the jungle though. I really don't want to leave. Right now I'm sat by the embers of the fire as the day's last light fades. We tried to find more fish to no avail, so we went for a quick and refreshing dip in the muddy river, then settled down to a couple of roots and a bit of salt. Despite the innumerable bites, I'm very much enjoying my time here in the Amazon rainforest. Valdemar and I rarely speak except for necessity. I much prefer this kind of tour, what I don't have to share with other people. It allows more time for reflection. Valdemar has 4 children and a lovely job in the woods. That's what I want. Day 4. I've been in Bolivia for 2 weeks today. There's no breakfast. Valdemar and I left camp and hiked through endless thick jungle, hacking away at all different types of plants and trees. He kept trying to find places we could cross the river in order to get back to base camp, but each time we emerged from the jungle, the water was still too high. Feeling hungry, Valdemar found me some food, a strange segmented fruit that looked like a durian, but when broken open reveals bright luminous orange-pink segments, each containing a stone covered in a thin layer of sweet flesh. I ate a few of these. Chocolatina, I think they're called, but I was still hungry. Valdemar cut down a palm tree then hacked off the top. In the base of the trunk was a tasty palm heart. We added some salt and ate it raw. It tasted a bit like water chestnuts. Then we continued through yet more thick bush. I started going into a trance, like reflections on my life, my work, and the people I know. After trying numerous times to find somewhere to cross the river, we gave up and started building a raft instead. I am now sat on the bank as he finishes this. I helped by carrying the large balsa tree trunks down the riverbank and into the water for him, but I think he wanted me to do more than that. I think Valdemar is looking forward to leaving the jungle more than I am. As we floated gently down the river and back near to base camp on our newly built raft, we saw the strange orange faces peering out of the bushes and looking at us. Were these some savages? Well, they were Irishmen, lost tourists. Turned out that their guide had gotten them lost, and they'd got in a fight with him and scared him away. The Irishmen were therefore stranded in the jungle. We shouted from the raft that we would send help, and then we floated on down back to the camp. We sent an Indian upriver to go and collect those Irishmen. When they came back, they related their story. After they'd chased off their guide, they had been forced to sleep in the mud with no mosquito nets, and they hadn't eaten a thing in 2 days. Theirs was a real survivor story. The next day, after I got back to Runabaki, I decided to walk by myself out into the jungle. I came to a quiet stream flowing from the edge of the jungle. It was so hot and still. I thanked Erche, Earthlen Mother, for this Mara Yesheft that I had enjoyed, and then I drew runes in the mud of the riverbank. Ist bidde dan a freien man kunis, that the Angelkin will produce enough noble souls that it may endure, and that in my life I meet such people and am able to help them and work toward a better world.